don't even know how to explain it, but you know, but he was another guy that I learned a lot from him. You know, just being on stage, watching him sing, watching how he breathed, you know, watching how he, you know, dealt with the band, signaled the dynamics. He was, you know, he just, you know, he was really always had the dynamics going on. You know, just bring it up, bring it down.
That's cool. Wow.
And he was sort of like the way he performed was kind of like the kind of thing that, you know, he was doing in the early '60s, the kind of thing that like Parliament Funkadelic would do later. You know?
Yeah, there's you've probably seen the footage of him performing at one of those PBS specials.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
they cut him off. He's ready to keep going for the next half hour.
Exactly. But you know, you could see a little bit of what he must have been like as a young guy in the early '60s. You know, when he was really in his prime on stage.
Yeah.
They called him, what was it, Detroit's James Brown.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
He must have been a force of nature.
Yeah. Well, when I first met him, he was still dancing like James Brown. But by the time that I was playing with him, he had some health issues, and so he was. He wasn't dancing with the agility that he had before. He was, but you know, by the time I was working with him, he was kind of like he really couldn't dance the way he was doing. I think that really bothered him.
So what album did you do with him? Was it the first comeback album?
Nope, I didn't work on that record. Although I did make a suggestion to the record company that he do that John Lennon cover.
Oh, that is killer.
Well, it was like what they were going to do was Fat Possum wanted him to do "Give Me Some Truth," and the guy at their label told me, "Yeah, I'm going to have him do "Give Me Some Truth" by John Lennon," and I'm just like. It just popped into my head. I'm like, no, man. No, you got to have him do I Found Out.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, what's that? I go check it out, man. And he checked it out, called me back. He's like, you're right, man. That's the one. So that was my contribution to that.
Well, that was a great contribution because that is an outstanding performance.
Yeah, we would play that on stage. It was great. But the next record, Why Don't You Give It to Me, and Why Won't You Let Me Be Black. I think we did both of those. And first one was the one we toured for. And the second one, it was after he passed away. I just basically was like, well, I've got some extra tracks, and I had a couple songs that he did acoustically on WDET with me, and I just put them all together. And those are songs we left off the first album because we thought, wow, these are too weird. They're too, you know, I don't know what they are. You know, they're just, you know, they're less commercial or something. But that second one, I thought that record actually, I liked it even better than the first one.
Oh, yeah.
It was a really good one. But yeah, he was just really fun to travel with and work with, you know, and he was, you know, he was a good friend, you know. It became real tight, you know.
Yeah, I was communicating with his son, Monteith, for a while.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, Monteith, you know, provided me with a good deal of information I could use to write a biography of him after, you know, he was inducted into the Michigan Rock and Roll Legends Hall of Fame. So,
Oh really?
Yeah.
And you worked with The Go, obviously Jack White early on.
Yeah, I did their first album and their second one that still hasn't been released. Well, it's been released on a bootleg out of England called Free Electricity.
Okay.
And but yeah, that was a real fun record to work on. That was really good. I mean, they were pretty much like in that era, and or in any era, The Go were just, you know, they were my favorite group. You know,
Oh, wow.
so I was working with a band that I really was, you know, really into.
It's cool.
And they were, and then later on, you know, they continued to make a bunch of really great records. You know, occasionally I'd come in and play some bizarre synthesizer solo or something, you know. But by that time, Bobby was, you know, producing himself. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you did, speaking of Born to Fever, you did His Name Is Alive.
I did a little work with them, yeah.
Duckers and ESP, maybe?
Yeah, I did some writing on that record, and yeah, I played with him briefly. Yeah, and there were, you know, I was working on a lot of different projects around the time, yeah.
You were so prolific through the 90s, and I mean, still to this day. I mean, your name was everywhere in the Michigan, you know, music press as a writer, producer, or helping
Yeah,
somebody,
you know, it was just a lot of stuff happening. You know, I'd get phone calls like, I got asked to play bass with this group, the Many Moods of Marlon Magus, and I didn't end up playing on their recordings because I was out touring with the Volbeats and got stuck in a snowstorm out somewhere. So they recorded their recordings that exist don't have bass on them. They just went in the studio and recorded without bass. But there's videos of them online, and I watched them. That band was insane, and it was just like a deconstructed no-wave big band. horns, and and I was playing bass. But no, there were just all these different projects going on at the time. It was Detroit in the '90s. There was this little place called Zoots. It was like a little coffee house in the Cass Corridor, and it was just filled with all these artists and musicians, and there was just this real, just this creative energy going on. There were just so many things happening, and then when they shut down, it kind of moved back into the bars, which was a lot less interesting to me. But that bar scene is what that was when the Go and the Detroit Cobras and all these other bands started, Dirt Bombs, everything else, started to happen at that point.
Okay. So it's post Zoots. I wonder if that's the place that Gil Clark was talking about on his podcast, because he was going down to see Rodriguez somewhere down there near the old Miami. And I've done shows with him at the old Miami.
Yeah.
And he's like, there's a place over there, and he couldn't remember the name of it. Maybe Zoots.
Might have been. I mean, Rodriguez played just weird gigs. He would play in a parking lot of a liquor store.
That's what Gil said.
Play in a field. You never knew what he was going to do, And then when the records got reissued, he finally played a gig in Detroit where they actually announced the gig, and then you could find out in advance and all that kind of stuff. But he would do these gigs,
Did you play with him?
I got to know him, and then he asked me to jam with him. I played a few gigs with him, and then after the movie won the Oscar, he brought me on tour with him, and I did a whole U.S. tour, and then the following year did a European tour with him. So I got to play all over the world with him.
Wow, that's pretty neat.
And it was, but we went from playing like the old Miami to playing stadiums and big opera houses and things. It was like this thing of like the transition was really pretty quick from playing the small places to these huge places. But he had already at that time had this huge success in South Africa and also in Australia that people didn't know about. But in South Africa, he was playing stadiums, and back here, his friends thought he was making it up. I mean, his friends didn't believe it. I just played a stadium in South Africa. Yeah, right. Yeah, I made a couple of records back in the day. They didn't even know about his records. People here didn't even know he had records. He had friends that were good friends of his who didn't believe that he had records out. I'm like telling them, oh no, he did these records, really?
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was totally crazy. And then I went, and I found out about him from an English tour manager when I was playing with Simon Bonney. Played me a cassette of Cold Fact in the early '90s when we were traveling, and so I became a fan early on. And then like several years later, my friend Willie Wilson found out that he lived in Detroit, and I'm just like, I can't believe this. And then I see him all the time, got to know him, got to play with him. And he was, also, being that I was listening to his stuff a lot in the '90s, I mean, he was also an influence on me, and getting to know him too. I think that kind of, getting to know all these guys from the earlier generation affected my writing. It made me more, I think made me more try harder to, with my lyrics and everything. Just like I've been fortunate to know some really great lyricists, as well as great musicians, so. Getting to know him, I know that had an impact on my writing, for sure.
Wow, that's fantastic. I thought I had read that you had a big feature in Metro Times.
Mm-hmm.
I remember reading years ago.
Yeah.
All the stuff you did, I'm just sitting there. I wanted to meet you someday, and here we are finally, Michigan Music History.
I'm glad you guys could come down here because Mike.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I mean, you guys were asking me to come to Bay City, but I've got the. My dashboard in my car, the lights are all flashing, and the people at the dealership are like telling me, "Oh, just ignore it. It's the new computers in the car. It's fine. It tells you something's wrong when nothing's wrong." Well, what if something is wrong? Well, I don't know. Bring it in, and we'll keep it for 3 weeks and look at it. So anyway, it's better than I have to drive my car all the way by Bay City.
Thank you for arranging this and meeting us, and for the music and the career and the continuation and the record collecting. I mean. You are like the ideal person to be on the Michigan Music History Podcast.
Oh, you got that right.
On every facet. And thank you, man.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, man.
Fabulous.
Appreciate you, man.
Oh yeah. Really good.
All right, yeah.
You covered a lot of ground.
Covered some stuff. Yeah. What time is it?
It is 3:02.
3:02.
And my phone's blowing up. Ozzy died. Everybody's Ozzy died. That's apparently, and he just played this Black Sabbath show.
Yeah, just a couple weeks ago.
My phone's blowing up right now. I was like apologizing. I'm like, shit, my phone's blowing up. But
Ozzy died.
Yeah, man.
Man, talk about the end of an era, man.
Oh, it is.
Wow.
Man, I was hanging out backstage at one of his shows one time with my friend Troy Gregory, who I didn't talk about this at all, but Troy was one of the guys I came up with playing music when we were kids.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You just seemed like, it's just hard to imagine him.
It's like
being
Keith
on.
Richards.
Yeah, Keith Richards, yeah.
Exactly. Holy shit. But the thing is, I was backstage, and my friend Troy was in a band at that time called Prong, and Prong were opening for Ozzy Osbourne on tour, and, so they were at the Fox Theater, so I was there, I was hanging out backstage, and we're looking backstage, and Ozzy's on stage, and I'm a huge Black Sabbath fan, but I was like, with the Ozzy solo stuff, I was not as big a fan. I've since come to appreciate like Diary of a Madman and stuff, but the times I saw him, first time I saw his band, I wasn't paying attention because the opening act was Motorhead. They just come out with Ace of Spades. I was there to see Motorhead.
Yeah.
So I was in the front row, second row, watching Motorhead and Fast Eddie. And,
Wow.
So I went, by the time he came out with Randy Rhoads, I'm just like, okay, he sounds like souped up Black Sabbath covers. And then I saw him at the other show, I was like, all right, this is okay, but I was backstage with the roadies are all sitting back there, all the crew. And all of a sudden you hear a little bit of, they're listening to the music through the speakers backstage. And all of a sudden you hear this tiny bit of feedback. And all these these big scary dudes were across the all just like jumping, like, oh man, Sharon's gonna be mad, Sharon's gonna be mad. Because it's a little tiny bit of feedback. Everybody in the room was terrified of Sharon. And they were just like, oh man, Sharon's gonna be like, somebody's in trouble now. Because there was this little bit of feedback on his mic. And I'm just, wow, man, they're running a tight ship. So then I go outside, and there's this big bus taking off, and all these fans following the bus. They're all going, Ozzy, 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 and they're like Night of the Living Dead. They're just like all like following the bus down the street, and I'm like, whoa! And then I turn around, and there's this like little circle of bodyguards walks right next to me with Ozzy in the middle, and he's just like got these sunglasses on, these little round sunglasses, and he's surrounded by bodyguards, and they walk him to this little Winnebago. None of these people slot. He just goes, he gets to this little Winnebago, and these people are crawling down the street, It was the funniest thing. Yeah. But I didn't get to meet him, but you just couldn't get near him. I mean, even when Troy was on tour, they like kept him away from his own band. Like his band couldn't get near him. And Troy waited until Ozzy was doing a sound check, and something broke on stage. And Ozzy's standing there, and he walked off the stage and sat in the theater, and the bodyguards were looking. And Troy just goes running over to him, sits down next to him, like, hey man, I got these videos of Black Sabbath, man, when you're walking around the forest. He's like, you do? Oh man, I want a copy of that. He's like, I'll get you one. Oh man, thanks. And all of a sudden, so he was able to bond with Ozzy, because he
Love it.
Because he just got you through the wall of bodyguards,
Amazing.
Yeah, and so Troy gave him that, then he gave him the tape, and at the end of the Black Sabbath, his brother had put all this stuff by the Residents, Diamant and Glass, and all this like really crazy avant-garde stuff. And I guess the next time he saw Ozzy, he's like, so did you watch the video? He's like, who was that lady, that woman screaming bloody murder at the end of that video? Who was that? He goes, oh, that's Diamant and Glass. He's like, did you like that? He goes, I don't know. I watched it.
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh man.
They're closed. They're closed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Matthew.
Well, yeah, thanks.
Awesome.
Maybe we'll get you out of here still a little on
Yeah,
our feet just ran out on the car.
We're ahead of the parking enforcement. We're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, what a pleasure, dude.
Yeah, well, it's cool,
I
man.
know.
Yeah.
So grateful to learn this stuff and the stories.
Thanks so much for coming.
Oh, can we get a photo with you?
Yeah, sure, man.
All right, how we gonna do this?
Cool.
One of them, yeah.
Yeah, one of them. Cool.